Un Africain, on l'a bien vu, émet 10 fois moins de carbone qu'un Européen, 20 fois moins qu'un Américain. Mais aujourd'hui, dans les processus actuels, les fameux mécanismes de développement propre du protocole de Kyoto, 90% des projets enregistrés sont soit chinois, indiens, brésiliens ou mexicains, et les projets africains ne représentent même pas 2%. L'Afrique subit ces conséquences et attend beaucoup de Copenhague. Et on espère sérieusement que ces anomalies liées au protocole de Kyoto actuel seront résolues pour que ce continent, qui a d'énormes ressources, qui a besoin de beaucoup d'énergie, commence à avoir l'accompagnement nécessaire. Et j'aurais une question aussi pour les pays africains qui y aurait une politique volontariste en termes d'énergie renouvelable, en termes d'efficacité énergétique. Quel type d'accompagnement pourrait venir? Bien sûr, ça sera discuté à Copenhague, mais il y a déjà des idées qui sont sorties de plusieurs rencontres. Et une d'entre elles, c'était que, copier un peu le schéma européen, on a vu que le feed-in tarif appliqué à l'Europe a fait une explosion, une utilisation importante des énergies renouvelables par les Européens. Est-ce que cette formule rendue au niveau international ou rendue au niveau d'un continent peut être quelque chose de plausible? Je vous remercie.
Probably Rick. You want to do that one, Rick?
We'll take this question.
You want to get that one, Rick?
Well, the last point about using incentives that are developed have been developed in developing countries for renewables, for example, is an interesting one. And actually, we did a paper in my division about 4 years ago that proposed precisely that since the objective of developed countries was to prepare the technologies for the future of their economies and for the future of their trade with others. And so they were subsidizing those technologies through the use of renewable portfolio standards or feed-in tariffs because they want to move along the technology learning curve. Well, all the evidence was that the lowest marginal cost, for example, for the use of wind and other technologies is in fact in developing countries. So if you want to get the maximum size of the industry as soon as possible, maybe you ought to be developing those technologies through the extension of the renewable portfolio standards or the feed-in tariffs to other countries. Of course, that raises considerable governance issues because, after all, they were developing these countries. The IEA countries are developing those technologies precisely for competitiveness reasons. And so how you preserve that while expanding the base in other countries is an important one. I would just finally say, of course, the CDM does not flow to places where there are not large markets. It is a market mechanism. That was the point. And I have to say, it was disingenuous of the debate, having watched it or participated in it in my previous existence. It was disingenuous to suggest that the CDM, or now future perturbations of it, would be an important way of moving technologies. It's not likely to be the case, that is, to Africa. It's not likely ever to be the case. Addressing the problems of Africa and its economic growth development is fundamentally going to be a problem both of revising governance, but also of providing public funding. That's, I think, going to be the device that has to be used. Clearly, they're going to have to be made more better able to develop markets and make use of their existing resources, but also they're going to have to have assistance in that direction. And it's largely going to come from the public funds. It's not going to come, I think, at least initially, through markets.
I don't think I know.
No. Okay. Please.
Celso Lar from Brazil. I would just like to raise one footnote issue regarding the theme of renewable energy. And of course, the question of biomass and the Brazilian experience related to ethanol extracted from sugarcane. The way I want to put it is that one should not compare ethanol from sugarcane or ethanol taken out of corn, which was in a certain way related to the question to the issue that was put regarding food and availability of food. Brazil has had a long experience with ethanol. It has scientific and research in this area that is very significant. You have cars that can both function with gasoline and with ethanol. You have a combination of the possibility of inserting alcohol, ethanol, in the mixture of the gasoline. So I would like to stress that it's not the same issue regarding biomass and ethanol if you look at different countries and the conditions in which production is made. One last observation. That Brazil presented in 2002 to the Johannesburg meeting a target for renewable energy, which was accepted in the regional sphere, but not accepted in the global field. Anyhow, I think this is an important issue because this is where other things get connected to other themes of the international agenda. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you've just made there, and there is a sharp distinction between using sugarcane in Brazil and sugar beets in the United States or in Europe. And for that matter, both the United States and Europe have changed their biofuels targets in transport to renewables targets in transport to get away from the concept or the risk of getting into food cycles and things like that. I think we need to be careful with our renewables to take a hard look at the sort of wheel-to-well costs and the real carbon input, the real carbon savings, the energy savings, the efficiency of the technology. And by wheel-to-well, in this case, you go all the way back to the fields that are being used for whatever is being grown. What would they otherwise be used for? What are the implications of the nitrates that we're putting on those fields to promote the crops? What is the runoff? What are the labor conditions? There's all kinds of things that need to be calculated in there before you can reach a good definition of what constitutes an economically viable renewable. But I think that's inherent in what you were saying. It's different in different places, and you have to look at each case separately.
Thank you. Well, it's not easy to wrap up such an extensive and multi-faced debate. I will tell you one thing. In Russia, there is a popular theory which says that there may be different opinions about the fate of the world in the global warming, but Russia will certainly benefit from it because it will become as hot as in Marrakech, and so we have nothing to be afraid about.
And consume less of vodka.
So if nothing is done in this area, and if in 20 years' time we still hear calls, it's time to get to work, then I'm certain that the conference in 20 years' time will be held in eastern Siberia under palm trees, and you will be most welcome there. Thank you very much for your participation. Bye-bye.